anyone that knows Laura knows that it couldn't be any other order than that. So there have been a lot of fantasy introductions tonight, and I could not be up here tonight without getting the chance to tell you something that happened to me 6 weeks ago, which sounds like fantasy, but the fact is, it really, truly did happen. I was at Hugh Jackman's one-man show on Broadway, the Broadhurst Theater, and I was sitting very close to the stage, and during the middle of the first act, he came down into the audience and started chit-chatting with different people, and he came over to me, he stood next to me, I was on the aisle, and he looked down and he said, "Hey mate, what's your name?" And I said, "Ron." He says, "You having a good time?" And I said, "Oh yeah, it's a great show." And he went off and he talked to a couple other people, and then he came back and he stood there again, and he said, "What's your name, mate?" And I said, "Still Ron." And, which I thought was a little cheeky after I thought about it. Anyway, he said, "Have you ever been on stage?" And I said, "Oh, just once in some little community thing." He goes, "In what?" And I said, "Oklahoma." He goes, "Ah, Oklahoma?" Well, of course, as you know, he starred in Oklahoma and London and New York, and he says, "Come on, mate, come on up on the stage with me." And he literally took me up on the stage with him, and we stood there, and he said, "Here, stand here where this little star is, in the middle of the Broadhurst stage, with his 18-piece orchestra behind him." And he put his arm around me, and he was just as nice as can be. And he said, he said, "Do you know the words to The Farmer and the Cowman?" And I looked at him, I said, "Yeah, I kind of do." I said, "Oh, the farmer and the cowman should be friends. One man likes to work the cow, the other likes to push a plow, but that's no reason why they can't be friends." So anyway, so we sang literally a couple lines, and he stopped, and he handed the microphone to me. As if I'm lying, I'm dying. He handed the microphone to me, and he said, "You got it, mate." And he walked off the stage, and he sat in my seat, and I'm now standing on there in front of the orchestra with I don't know how many hundreds of people in this packed theater, ready, and I sang the song, The Farmer and Cowman, by myself, and Angela Lansbury, Candice Bergen, and Florence Henderson were all sitting a few rows behind me. I'm not making this up. And I sang, I got this really great ovation. He jumped up on the stage and he says, "You were great, mate, you knew all the words. Well, let's hear it for Ron." I got this big ovation, and so I've had my Broadway debut. One of the things, though, that I learned from it was the fact that you've always heard about there being something special about being up here on stage. Something that you get that you don't get with anything else that you might do, and I thought I want to share it with you. The butcher, the baker, the grocer, the clerk are secretly unhappy men because the butcher, the baker, the grocer, the clerk get paid for what they do, but no applause. They'd gladly bid their dreary jobs goodbye for anything theatrical. And why? There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing, everything the traffic will allow. Nowhere can you get that happy feeling when you are stealing an extra bow. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Even with a turkey that you know will fold, you may be stranded out in the cold. Still you wouldn't trade it for a sack of gold. Let's go on with the show. The costumes, the scenery, the makeup, the props, the audience that lifts you when you're down. The heartaches, the headaches, the backaches, the flops, the sheriff that escorts you out of town. The opening when your heart beats like a drum. The closing when the customers won't come. There's no business like show business. There's no business I know. They tell you before the show has started that your favorite uncle died at dawn. Top of that, your mom parted. You're broken-hearted, but you go on. There's no people like show people. They don't run out of dough. Angels come from everywhere with lots of jack, and when you lose it, there's no attack. Where can you get money that you don't give back? at night you opened and there you are.